everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Woo! Look at all the people and all the new people. Yay. So glad to see you here. Hi, everybody. I am Tish Hicks. I am the Master Sensei of the VO Dojo here in beautiful Burbank, California. And this is our monthly series that is called Get to Know VO. So each month, on third Wednesday of the month, we take a subject and focus in on it. So it might be something that if you're new to VO that you are like, what? I didn't even know that was a thing. It might be something that if you're on your journey, you go, oh, well, I never thought of it that way, or wait a minute. And it might be something that if you're well on your journey, oftentimes on our journey, it's good to like shake it up and see another way, or to remember that is darn tootin' right. That is absolutely how I live and how it goes. So that's what this is about. Let me introduce, Jeffrey is our dojo talent support. So he's here in the background to make sure everything's going. And if you need anything, go in the chat. And I'm joined by one of our senseis, Kat Campion, who's based in Minnesota. So glad to see you guys here. Let me pull up the presentazione. Let me find it, and we will get started. So, share screen, share this, and play. All right, so here we are at the VO Dojo. Today's topic for our Get to Know VO discussion is voiceover, how to work from wherever you are. A little bit about me. It's great to see so many new faces. So if you don't know about me. So I am based in Burbank. I'm originally from Chicago. I've been a voiceover pro here in LA for 25 plus years. I've been the long-running voice of many, many campaigns, including Subaru and Citibank and all sorts of things. I work in pretty much all the genres. And about 10 years ago, I crossed the threshold because there was need and calling into teaching, and created what has become the VO Dojo, which is a full training program that is designed to guide, support, connect, and accelerate you every step of the way from I don't know to working pro. So everyone on this call is somewhere along that journey. And just to know that everything we'll be talking about is part of what we are here and guiding you towards. So that's a little bit about that. I'm going to introduce Kat in a second. She's going to, I'll introduce her in a second, but let me start with a story that has to do with doing VO from wherever you are. So this year has been a little odd and a little unlike I had expected it to be, because just a few weeks ago, I got back from Maui. That sounds like, yay, wow, fantastic. I went to Maui in an instant to support a family member who was having a severe mental health crisis. So I had planned to be there for, I think, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. And I ended up staying for 2.5 months. And it was such a blessing to have a life with both my own voiceover career and the dojo and the amazing team that we have assembled here, to be able to do that, to keep everything in my life going, and then be there for someone that I love dearly who really needed the support. So what happened? What did I have to do that? This is really the front yard, like, of where I stayed. This is actually where I was. It's not just a postcard. It was really where I was. So what what needed to happen? So first of all, kind of the first day I arrived, I created a booth away from home. So the room I was staying in had this sweet little alcove that turned into like this little space capsule. I got the patio cushions from the garage downstairs, put my chair in there. This is my Apogee hype mic. This is my little travel setup for my hype mic, which is basically 10 velvet hangers that becomes my travel setup, and put a blanket across here. So this was my booth away from home. So that was the first layer of what I needed, what was possible and what I needed to do. The second thing that I found out really quickly was that even though I was staying in this beautiful, fancy, lovely, gorgeous place, the internet speed sucked. It was really, really bad, really spotty. I ended up doing stuff on my hotspot when I could, but there was no way that I could do. I did do one Subaru session, which I usually record anyway, and I've done that from closets all over America. But for sessions that I needed to actually have Source Connect or go to, I had to reach out and build a relationship. So I got to meet the fabulous people at Back Like Buddha. And if you're ever in Maui and need voiceover, Noir is amazing, and they totally saved my butt. And then every time I had to call them, I was like, hey, can you come in early? Because I've got a session that's East Coast. Can you come in at 6? And they were like, yeah, we can do that. So now we have friends and relationships, working relationships in Maui. So in one sense of what we're going to talk about today, what we would like to bring up to discuss, right, is that this lifestyle allows you to do things like all of this. And there's ways that we can be wherever we are. And then the other aspect that we want to explore is how can you do this from wherever you are. We'll open that up to discussion. So let's talk about this. I'd love to see who is here and where you are from. So we're going to talk about three questions today. First of all, where are you? What do you want to do in VO? And what do you want VO to do for you? So this is the first question. Where are you? We all have to start where we are, right? So if everyone has can put like in the chat where they are, let's take a look. Let's take a look at what diversity we have here. I'm going to make my screen brighter because it is not. Ooh. All right. Yay, let's take a look. So we've got a little blend of everywhere. We have Cincinnati, Ohio. We have the Midwest. We have Maryland. Kay's from Maryland. Jeff from Seattle, Pacific Northwest. Patricia in Canada. Celinda, hello, in Oregon. And Marla in upstate New York. So just like put these things in your mind, like where everybody is. Portland. So and then let's talk about this next layer as we're going through, and let's identify so we all know where you are, right? So where you are is going to be one of these things, probably. Either a major market, right? Either in LA or New York, a regional market, maybe one of the bigger ones like Chicago or Atlanta, or and then we can debate on size and impact and how we look at things. Minneapolis is a powerful regional market. Seattle, the Pacific Northwest. Texas has many different parts of Texas, but as a whole, New England, that whole East Coast scene above New York, and then there's below New York, the Mid-Atlantic, Denver, San Francisco. So notice where you are. Maybe you're in none of these places. Maybe like one of our dojo members, Alice Sheldon, is self-proclaimed in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, doing audiobooks and doing what she can. So maybe you're none of these places. Maybe you're somewhere. Maybe you're working internationally. Maybe you're like Lindsay Crescenti just moved to Italy and she joins us sometimes later in the night for her, sometimes. But yeah, we have people joining us from Ireland and Australia. So maybe you are somewhere there. Let's take a little breeze through and see who else is here south of Atlanta. So there we go. So kind of recognize where you are, and where you are matters in some ways and doesn't matter in other ways, right? So that's what we're going to explore. San Francisco, Connecticut, Penn, hello. Northwestern, LA and Northwestern connections in the house. Houston, ooh, Channel Islands Harbor. That's kind of a combo of living remotely and living in a major metropolitan area, in a major market. That's super cool. And how do you say Nipomo? That's cool. And Saskatchewan and Lexington, Kentucky. Oh my gosh. Carmel, this is another question that we can also ask as we go along. We'll do this in a later section, but think about it. Where would you like to be doing VO from? let's think about that. We'll ask that question in a little bit. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so recognizing where that these things exist, and that we are all in one place or another. Now, each of these things have things in common, and then, well, let's see. Each of these things has things that are valuable and pluses, and things that might might make it so that there are certain ways that we can be building our business versus other ways, right? So we can talk a little bit about that. With that, I'm going to segue to introducing, come on, little machine. There we go. I want to introduce Kat and the rest of our team. Not everybody's here with us today, but just to let you know, like, how the dojo has been built and evolved really embodies this principle that everyone can do this from everywhere. So I'm here in Burbank. Sensei Ben's in Chicago. Sensei Kat will introduce herself in a second. She's based in Minneapolis, but she'll tell you her story in a second. Sensei Terry started in Birmingham, Alabama, where I met. When I met her, she was in Birmingham, Alabama, and had set her sights that she'd be moving to the bigger market of Atlanta, and that's where she's based now. Sensei Stephanie is based in Arizona. She literally lives in the forest in Prescott, Arizona, with her pups and stuff. Yeah, but Kat, introduce yourself if you could, and just tell us a brief synopsis of your journey with voiceover, because I think it's one of the most dynamic of anyone's stories.
Thank you. Yeah, it's me here, not the short-haired gal in the picture. I have to update my photo, but I haven't cut my hair through pandemic, and it's longer. Yeah, so chronologically, I have been a working professional actress since I was a teenager. I've done theater, movies, TV, lots of commercials. I've been in the union for about 25 years. I serve on my local SAG-AFTRA board of directors. I've been working almost exclusively well, I've been doing voiceover for about 15 years, but since I left LA, I was in LA for most of the past 2 decades with a little side jaunt off to Ecuador, where I own an orchard, and moved back to my hometown of Minneapolis 4 years ago on my partner's urging. He was a Midwesterner. He was done with LA. And so we just packed up and moved to Minneapolis, where we could afford to buy a really nice house that we couldn't afford in Los Angeles. And I've been working almost exclusively in voiceover for about, well, for sure 5 years. Since I've moved back to Minneapolis, there's very little union on-camera work here. So thank goodness for my voiceover career, because it's filled in as my on-camera career was kind of dwindling out. My voiceover career has been ramping up over the past decade. Some of my bigger brags would be like Tish. I've done loads of national network commercial campaigns. I also voiced for Subaru for several years, United Health, H&R Block. Granite Gear is one of my favorites because I get to really play a character for that one. I voiced for the Ellen DeGeneres show for years when she'd have conversations with her phone. I did Siri on Ellen DeGeneres. I voice matched for Scarlett Johansson. I did dozens of political spots last year for Biden's Build Back Better plan that didn't pass. And now, yeah, I'm based back in Minneapolis and I work mostly from home. I get sent to a studio maybe 2 or 3 times a year, but I mostly just work from home on Source Connect.
And then one of the things that I think is really powerful about the business that you've recalibrated in this shift to moving to Minnesota, you've been working internationally, which is part of your blood, right? Not everybody goes to buy an orchard in Ecuador, and so
citizenship and speaks multiple languages. Yeah.
So you literally have taken what you have where you are and made it a resource for everyone around the world. So just want to let you know, like wherever you are, there's ways of doing this.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So on a very basic level, there are considerations. One of the first things that I found in Hawaii, right? No matter how fancy the place, it doesn't matter if you don't have connectivity. So that is sort of one of the criteria that will allow you to play the game or not play the game. If you have limited internet resources, it's not that you can't do it, because you might have someplace nearby. I think, Kat, you're talking about driving in Ecuador to a town 3 hours away or something like that. Yeah. So you can go to where there is, but then you're reliant on there's costs and things like that. So you can figure out how to do it, but you can't do it without being connected. That's just
and don't forget, after I did the 3-hour drive to try to go to a studio in Guayaquil, the major city, I met a local guy, a Dutch guy in my village in Ecuador, who not only was a sound engineer and had a home studio in Ecuador that I could use whenever I wanted. He used to be a sound engineer like 3 blocks from my house in Hollywood, where I lived for 15 years. So like relationships. You never know who you're going to be able to help out and who can help you. So get connected, get out there and meet people, because there are a lot of home studios around the world now. So wherever you are, figure out which of your neighbors, until you get your own setup, figure out which of your neighbors, and you can help each other out.
Yeah, and the relationships on so many levels, right? That really, we'll talk about this in a second, but really, all people, well, think about it. I know in Hollywood, people say about Hollywood, like, oh, Hollywood, it's who you know. It's all who you know. And at the dojo, we go, yeah, it's who you know. So just get to know people. And then the key here is, how do people know you, right?
And be someone that they want to know.
Exactly. It's about who knows you. And like anything, people like to work with people they know and they can rely on, right? So that also comes to having a level, a skill level, which also might be part of your development or part of the exploration of which markets that you want to work in, which markets you are working in, which markets you're working towards, right? But people really like to work with people who they can get the job done well and quickly and make their job easier, right? So in bigger markets, there may be more people, there may be more experienced people, and there may be higher standards of what is required to work at a competitive level. If we want to go like masculine energy, work at a competitive level, right? Which is part of it. You do have to have a warrior spirit of this. It's not like, oh, yay. And then also to play the game at the levels that you want to. So another consideration, and like in some ways, don't knock if you're building a career where it doesn't cost $1 billion to live. Take that into consideration about how you're building your voiceover business, right? Because if I have a business here in Burbank, and what it costs to run my sweet little house that's now worth, oh my God, like so much crazy money because it's so expensive to live here. I have to keep it kicking in, right? I got to keep it going here because it's expensive. And so as you're building your business, or as you're building your business, or as you're growing your business, if your costs are less to have a lovely way of life where it doesn't cost as much, then you can choose either how much work you want to do, how you are getting that work, and another thing that I just forgot, how much you want to do, and what kinds of work you are going to be able to do, right? Yeah. Cool. So let's keep on going. So we want to, oops, hold on. Okay, so let's go to the second question here. And it is, so the question is, what do you want to do? So we've just talked about like possibilities, and yeah, we can do this from anywhere. Yes, yes, yes. And that is kind of true. And it kind of depends on what you want to do. And there are some things that are a little bit different, and what you're able to do from where as fully as you can. So this is one of the like anchors of what we do at the dojo here, which is basically create a comprehensive overview, and then as you go into training with us, a little taste of of how to explore each of these things. But here is a big map of all the different ways that you can be making money in voiceover. Now, what we're going to do for a second is explore which ones are more applicable to wherever, which ones kind of require being in a certain place, or and here's the key to it, building relationships very strongly in a certain place. So then you can go wherever you want, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean being there. It means building relationships and doing work. So let's take a look at this. I think some of you might have seen this before. Some of you might have never seen this put in this way, where you can see everything laid out and in relationship to each other. Because sometimes, some of us might have come in through doing looping, and we are like, oh, what's all this, right? Some of us might have come in, each of these things has a door to it, and you might have come in through that door and you might not know, or you haven't activated all these other ways that you can be making money. So let's see, let's ask, let's ask you a question in the chat. We'll talk a little bit about this as well. So maybe some of you are working already, maybe some of you have not, are just considering working. Let me just ask one question at a time. What are you working in? What realms are you working in? Now, let's get a sense of what this group of wonderful, amazing humans who have interest in voiceover are working on. And maybe what is one thing that you're like, ooh, I would really like to do that. So maybe that, what are you working on? And or what is one thing you'd be like, ooh, that makes me excited. That makes my heart beat. That makes me sing and dance. That makes me want to do whatever is needed, right? Yeah. We got a lot of people working in audiobooks, which is fantastic. We'll talk about that as I always think of audiobooks as kind of well, audiobooks is its own microcosm of the voiceover world, its own ecosystem, its own microclimate, and its own art form. But I always like to think of audiobooks as like a good pot of lentils, like something that wherever you are, you can have a pot of lentils and you know you'll be well fed and have lots of nutrients and it'll be really yummy and you can keep it going no matter what. Because you can always have an audiobook on the stove in some way, no matter what you're doing. You can figure out how to do that. Audio dramas, audio books, commercials, training videos, training narrations. Yep. A lot of audiobooks, educational training, e-learning. Yep. Promos and narration. Oh, so Trace, promos is what you're doing and narrations, or is one of those one what you're doing and what you'd like to do? I guess.
Oh, I'm just starting out to do them now. I started in regional commercial many years ago. And then I just continued and did like radio reading and all this stuff and poetry and blah. And now I just really want to make money because if the people like my voice, even the English people like my voice. So I just started, well, it's surprising, isn't it? So I just started doing promos and narrations because that's what I'm strong at that.
Excellent. And that's a fantastic way to approach it. So all of these things are that Trace just said are things that we all consider as we're finding our paths and what we want to do. Right. So first of all, Trace lives in, do you live in the UK, Trace?
No, but I don't now. But I've been living there part of the every year until the pandemic hit. Okay. And I actually want to move back.
Okay. So you live in two places.
Yeah, because I'm going to end up probably in New York and then in England.
Excellent. So great. That's something that you can choose to do. And then the things that I heard Trace talk about are understanding what she has and what she brings, right? Notice where you start having things click and people start giving you money because they like it and you help them get their job done. Notice that there's different markets, right? The UK, a promo in the UK, completely different thing than a promo in the US, right? You can work in both. You just need to understand the differences there. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Trace. That's really, really helpful. Making my own work, that's a whole nother get to know VO. As our partnership with Catalyst Storytelling Institute and Festival comes up, we need to do a get to know VO about that because we're all about driving our own cars here. Good. Oh, and Ruben, you're talking about the opposite of what Kat was doing. Kat moved from major market to smaller market where her on camera became less of a priority for her. And you're talking about, I'm not sure, I didn't put together where you're located, but you are working in film and television. So I'm assuming somewhere where that's happening. And you'd like to add voiceover to what you're doing, which is also brilliant. We call that diversifying the portfolio. Good. And I also want to emphasize the power. A lot of what we do here at the dojo is the internal training. So I want to emphasize the power and what it feels like to say, I would like to, or I would love to. I want to just notice what that is, because it's that energy that gets you through all the things that are required to do those things, as we do when we love something, right? I love my family member. I went to Maui for 2.5 months, did what needed to be done because all love, right? So just notice that feeling and write it down. Keep on writing it down. Like in the olden days when you'd write someone you have a crush on your folder. I would love to do animation. Awesome. Retired from teaching. Yes. That is another thing in terms of this what and where and how does this fit in your life? What are the skill sets that you're bringing that we can take your mastery from one and shift it into this medium? Not shift it, calibrate it. Calibrate your mastery from where do you have skills? Excellent. This is fantastic, guys. Thank you for sharing this. Let's keep on going and let's explore what are some of the things that are easier to do from wherever you are. And we asked the question, what do you want to do in VO? And ideally, and you can do this for pure love, but ideally, there's some element, and we bless this correct, love and money. Love and money. You can have and love both. So ideally, there's something about money that is here. Not money, like money, but money. Because as one of our friends of the dojo and mentors, Melissa McFarland says, money is the currency of adult life. So we need it, we want it, right? Okay, so different genres have different requirements of time, which requires you to know how your life is structured. And how much you want to be spending on this. Different requirements of availability, right? If I am with ACM as my manager, A3 LA, A3 New York. So when I'm in a place where I need to be available when I get opportunities for auditions that come in, need this ASAP, need this by end of day, and then also to be available to do the sessions, right? So it's not that you can't do anything else because we all do other things, right? You just need to structure your life so that you can make choices if you're choosing to go into those realms, right? And you can make all the money in the world. Okay, so and then where you're located. So these are the three things that we'll kind of explore here. Keep on going. And we'll run through this, and we do want to hear your questions as we go too, or as we before we finish. So, okay, so there's some genres that are easier to do from wherever you're at on your own time. So do on your own time in your own recording space. Audiobooks, narration, usually a little bit longer timeline, not necessarily instantaneous. It's usually you usually go into the workflow of the marketing department or whoever is creating that. E-learning is a project based. You become part of that team too. IVR, which is interactive voice recording, or phone messages. Well, phone messages is a little bit different than IVR, but those interactive things. Thank you for calling. We're glad you called. Right? Those things you can kind of do from wherever. There's a whole realm called audio description, which has been around for a while and is really becoming as diversity and equality and inclusion becomes more and more part of our everyday life. Audio description is basically the equivalent of closed caption for someone who's hearing impaired. Audio description allows someone who's visually impaired to enjoy a story or a piece of to enjoy that. So those are all things that are things that you can and probably will do on your own, probably without a director, recording, delivering, maybe doing revisions in your own in the bigger time frame, but at your own time, right? So like my friend Ariel is an amazing audiobook narrator and has been for many years, and she as she's building and thrive, her career was thriving. She had little kids, so when the little kids were asleep, she was in the booth. So yeah, so there's things that are easier to do, and you can build an entire career just doing these things. I'm going to switch to commercial, and then Kat, I would love to hear your story, like your insights about what happened when you did move down to Ecuador and how things shifted. Come on, machine. There we go. So there's things that might have some more challenges, like commercials. You're part of a different workflow. You're part of a client's workflow. You're part of an advertising agency's workflow. I know myself that I'll get like, we have an avail for super session. It's either this day, or this day. And suddenly I'm like, okay, I'll hold all of those times because this is a priority. Yeah. So in the commercial realm, you don't always, but you may be working in a directed session where you're connecting with the team to create the takes that you that are needed in that sort of real time. I know when I do my super sessions, it's like, okay, and here it is, and plunk, 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 and bah, it's on the air, right? You might need to have time zone challenges. As idyllic as Hawaii is, if you are actually living in Hawaii for 2.5 months and doing work with Switzerland is 12 hours ahead, with New York is 6 hours ahead, and LA is 3 hours ahead. So a 12 o'clock session in New York, which is like leisurely, right, is a 6 a.m. session in Maui. So you can do it, you just can't sleep in, right? And then you have to be available for all the time zones, which I don't know, a lot of our lives are more and more like that too. And then, being part of deadlines and having to get stuff in. And that's both for not only for sessions, but being on top of the audition process. Can you share briefly, Kat, about what happened? Well, not what happened, because it didn't happen to you. It didn't happen to you, but you made a conscientious decision on how you were going to make choices about your voiceover career, right? And then you made other decisions.
Yeah. Before I go into that, this thought just came to me about what you were sharing about needing to be available at all this time. I feel like I've been fortunate that I've been able to set a lot of boundaries with clients, and you'll find that people outside of the US are not as work obsessed. So the great thing is when I tell a client outside of the US, like, oh, I don't work on the weekends, or I don't work, I work from 9 to 5, and they go, okay, well, then we'll have to do all of our sessions at 9 a.m. because we're going to bed after that. So you can set boundaries and parameters, and you might lose some work because of it, but just know that there's always flexibility in like all these aspects of voiceover. The only time that there isn't is when we're doing like the gatekeeper work, which is basically all the stuff that Tish just listed that's easy to do on your own. That's mostly like what I call the non-gatekeeper work. So if you're doing the gatekeeper work, commercials, promos, trailers, stuff where you probably got it through an agent and or a casting director, maybe in New York or LA, and then you're going to have a live directed session, those you can say, gosh, it'd be great for me if we did it afternoon Eastern time. I will be sleeping, but you also have to be, if they're like, nope, our client wants you at 9 a.m. New York time, so you get up at 3 a.m. And so I have very little of that, but it does happen, and you might lose a campaign or a client or something if you're not into that. So my story is that I was making a living as an actress, kind of 50-50 on-camera voiceover in LA for years. And I just got this bee in my bonnet or idea in my head that I wanted to become fluent in a second language. I'd never got there with my French, and I really wanted to find a language that I would love and get fluent in. So I see Naomi is on the line right now, and she's in the Dominican Republic, if anybody didn't notice that. So she'll probably relate to a lot of this, that I moved not only to Ecuador, but to like rural Ecuador. I bought an orchard. I took my entire retirement portfolio, liquidated it, and bought an orchard in Ecuador. I wanted to be warm year round, which we don't have in Minnesota. I wanted to learn Spanish, and I just wanted to live like closer to nature. I was with Abrams Artists at the time, and they thought I was crazy. They were like, oh, that's Kat. Like, you're making really good money doing big commercials for us, and you're probably not going to be able to do a lot of that in Ecuador. And they were right. The few times that I tried to, now, again, this was almost a decade ago. So I definitely had unreliable internet at my farm. So there was no way I was ever going to book any, even just like a corporate narration or something. I wasn't booking any live directed sessions then. I was just like, look, I can record a couple takes for you, send it to you, and let me know if you need it done. I'll do it again and again and again, because it's my fault that I can't do a live directed session. But I did end up making very good friends with this Dutch guy who,
Another Dutch guy, a different Dutch guy?
a different Dutch guy, not the Dutch guy that had the studio in Ecuador, not Paul Strickwerda, who, if you don't know, everybody adult. But this was like, he was basically my my South American Paul Strickwerda, because he just that energy. They're so affable and lovable and funny. And this, I love Dutch people. And now my business partner is Dutch, but he lives in Bali, of course, and his mom's from Italy and his dad's from Ireland, but he grew up in the Netherlands. So just an example of how all over the map my career is. But yeah, I did end up booking a live directed session. I had to go to Guayaquil, not the capital city, but like the biggest city that's 3 hours up the coast by bus. I did not have a car there. I didn't want to deal with like driving internationally. So I got there for like a 9 or 10 a.m. session. I got there early, and it was in some guy's house, but he was one of the main recording studios in Guayaquil. He just wasn't there. He wasn't answering my calls or texts. I was knocking and calling and texting, and what the heck. And I had to communicate with my client back in the US. And later he got back to me like the next day and was like, oh gosh, I guess I slept in, while I partied really hard the night before. So this is all to say, there are cultural differences around the world that you need to start. If you're going to work internationally, learn that like some clients want to be communicated with via WhatsApp, and some don't want you to send them a message on Sunday because that's offensive. And some people are going to be very abrupt and not very nice with their communication. Like I had one of the worst sessions of my life with a client in China, and they were so mean to me. You're not giving us what you want. We want. Why aren't you listening better to us? And I was like, gosh, I've never had this problem in a session before, but they were very angry. So yeah, just cultural differences around the world. But for me, it keeps things exciting. And some really awful stuff happened. I can put a link to my website, and you can.
And this is a great segue, because Kat has a great Dojo Go guide about working internationally, so we can go in depth. The thing that I love about this story is you made a choice, and then you were able to do some things, and then you said, well, you tried to do it, and it wasn't. And again, so you make choices, right? And then eventually you went, well, this is the orchard is less of a priority, or it wasn't what I thought, and now I'll make another choice. And you went back to
LA and quickly moved here.
Yeah. So just understand that. Now, just in terms of understanding commercials is something that Trace said too. There's national level commercials, regional levels of commercials, and local level of commercials. Ideally, you're training and working so that you can do any level of caliber or quality of work that anyone's interested in paying you for. If you are living locally, figure out how you can become a resource locally. If you're part of the Pacific Northwest, then figure out how you can become part of what is going on in that realm of commercials and advertising. Get to know the agencies in your town. Get to know the business, the corporations. Minnesota, Target, and 3M, and like so many places are based. Atlanta, Coca-Cola. Like, what are the industries and businesses that might need your work? Let's keep on going, because I want to make sure that we share and we finish on time and have some time to talk too. And then, as we've mentioned, there's some things that might have the most challenges, that are more collaborative, more time sensitive. I think have higher stakes. Like a trailer for a movie that is $1 billion, or a show that's going to launch. We need to have a voice that's really going to get the job done, because there's a lot that's on the line. So there's sometimes that's going on. Dubbing it really helps when you're working to picture to be able to work to picture, or if you're doing looping, like to be together. Obviously, so there's things that require that have more challenges. And I think also this is interesting because all of these things, dubbing and particularly looping, are supremely relationship based, right? Why do we see the same people doing the animation over and over? Because they're freaking talented. They are absolutely devoted. And everybody who's working in the animation knows they can go out, boom, got it, right? They are absolutely reliable. They are known quantity. So how do you become one of those people? That's the game, right? Now, this traditionally, animation was like, if you really, really want animation, come here. Come live in Burbank, where I can literally walk to Nickelodeon, walk to Cartoon Network, walk to ABC Disney, walk to Warner Brothers, take my bike to Universal. And, like, this is where things are happening. And in the course of production flow, it's really helpful if you can be like, boom, bang zooms here. Like, there's so many things happening right here. So if you're here, it's easy for everybody, right? And you can't get on a flight to be here for a something session. So there's still this, and the pandemic has changed everything. So know that doors are opening. Doors are opening, and they're not going to go back shut. They're not going to go back shut like they were. So recognize that, prior to the pandemic, in New York, like my New York agents were like, yeah, if you can come out for a couple of months at a time and get to know all the casting directors, which is sweet because in New York, it was that the casting directors cast from the people who came into the studio. And New York is 11 miles long. And so you just go around, right? So it was awesome. And everything shifted. Now people who are working in the New York market are listening to people everywhere. Same with animation. Even the most complicated things had to figure out how to do it from your home. So it's not going to shut completely. And with all of this, figure out what you can do. Recognize what might be limitations, what might be challenges, but always think about what you can do, and then why you want it. So, and this segues to, what do you want to do? What do you want VO to do for you? What, how do you want this to serve? So in a nutshell, and hopefully this has been peppered in, but first of all, hold on. First of all, start where you are. Live your dream right now. Do what you can today with what you have, whatever budget, whatever resources, wherever you're at. There's got to be some Dutch guy. There's some Dutch guy where you are that when you say, hey, I do voiceover, and he'll say, hey, so do I, around the world, or something like that. There's some Dutch guy somewhere that you can be living and working together. If the work you dream of is what motivates you, make your way, or plan to make your way to the market that supports it. It doesn't have to happen today, but make a plan that's what you're doing. If your dream is to go anywhere you want and work from there, build that reality. If your reality is that you need to be in a particular market, Ben worked in the LA market, and then he made a choice, and he's taking care of a family member, and they moved back to the Chicago market, and that is where he has made a choice to build his reality, and it's going quite well. So recognize that. So whichever way it is, no matter what choices you make, it all depends on building your skills. It depends on understanding how the business works, developing and maintaining relationships, and knowing what you want. So how do you do all those things? And how do you do all those things? Well, what it's going to take is, there's all of these places. some have explored some, there's so many other places. And so how do you build your skill sets? How do you get that practice? How do you get those 10,000 hours and allow the gestation period for where you are and where you want to be the same, to be the same thing, or Yeah. So how do you do that? At the dojo, and then how do you get to know the people who are doing the things you want to do so you can be one of them? At the dojo, we have a saying that there is no they, there's only we. So we do that when we're doing our fight clubs, our working pro workouts that bring together top-notch talent with the decision makers who hire us, like top people who just, there's no they, like, what do they want? What do they want? It's just we, because we're working together. And when we come together to train and to build our skills, we do it together, which amplifies each individual's efforts. So I know everyone's at different places here. I wanted to share, we just talked about that. Share an opportunity to join us if this sounds interesting. What we're talking about sounds interesting. For everyone on the call today, we do have You Should Do Voiceover classes coming up. The next one starts in July. And then we have classes that start in August as well. It's a 6-week virtual intensive that gives you a comprehensive overview of everything on that map, hands-on experiential experience, hands-on experience with what it is to do the work and how it works in fitting it in your life. And that feeling of understanding how we do this together, because the reality of voiceover is it's a solitary and isolating act when you actually do it. So how do we come together? If you are interested, and this is not just a beginner's course, this is for anyone on their journey, because the way we work here is we start together on the same page, and then we meet you where you are to get you where you want to be. For everyone on the call today, if you know this is a decision you want to make, if that's where you want to drive your car, we'd love to offer you $100 off for the next classes. Oops. And this is how you do it. Oops, hold on. That's not how you do it. This is how you do it. I wanted to share 3 things. We just finished the May You Should Do Voiceover class. And we had Annika, who literally just graduated from college studying theater. And her insight about the You Should Do Voiceover class was, if you found yourself on a desert island or on an island suddenly, your instinct would be to climb to the highest place to get the lay of the land. She said that's what this 6 weeks has felt like. We had Timmy, who is actually a relative of someone who's in our Mystery to Mastery program, who's never done anything performing wise, never done anything like this. And she finished and she said, oh my gosh, and she did say, oh my gosh, because she's from Minnesota. She said, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was going to bring me such joy. This is exactly what I've been looking for, that thing that feels like this. And then Jed is a really, really accomplished vocal professor. He teaches voice in the UK at very many wonderful places. And he said, wow, I really was able to get in touch with myself, not a performer, and he did a beautiful job of just bringing all of his expertise back to beginner's mind. So those are the kind of folks that you might encounter. So this is the offer. We are always available to talk with you. If you have questions, I'm going to do this. If you have questions, you can always touch base with Jeffrey. We'll be sending out information about that. So, but let's take these last few minutes, and we will and open it up to questions. And we usually stop these things just at the top of the hour, but if you want to hang out, we can take a few. So we'll finish the official thing at the top of the hour, but Kat and I and Jeffrey can hang out and we can explore. Ooh, sorry. Ooh.
Bless you.
Ooh, oh my gosh. We can,
Bless you,
we
Tish.
can answer more questions as they come up. So let's see. How should we do the questions, Jeffrey? How should we do them? Should we have people write them and then we'll ask them?
I like to see faces and hear voices.
Yeah.
People want to raise their physical or metaphorical hand, electronic hand.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me get the. Do you want to do the question wrangling, Jeffrey? Can you see everybody?
Sure. I see there's one hand already raised. Patricia Russell, if you'd like to unmute yourself and pop in the room to ask your question, go for it.
Well, hello, everybody. Tish, thank you for this presentation and for your team, Catherine. My question is, as a result of doing the 6-week course, what would be the recommended next steps? And as a result of the 6-week, I just want to clarify, the 6-week course is it giving you an overview? Is it giving you steps on how to, could you give me a little bit more on that? And what would be the next recommended steps?
Absolutely. Yes. So it is a 6-week course. The goals of the You Should Do Voiceover is to open up the possibilities, to open up your awareness of what is possible. So your awareness of what it is, what it takes, and have a sense of what you've got. I'm gonna see if I can stop the share here. And
I already did.
Okay, great. Where is everybody? Yeah. So what we do, the first week of the course, we get to know each other, because the relationships and the relationships and those connections and how we'll be working together is one of the most important parts of the class. Then we lay foundations of how you can be thinking about everything. We go into that map and open your mind like, wow, what are those possibilities, and talk about each of those things. We lay down foundations, and then we set a baseline. We set a baseline of this is what it's like to work working with what you have. The second and third weeks, we go into the realm of commercials, and we explore different layers of nuances in commercials and how they relate together. It all builds on what we already have. The fourth week, we cross the bridge over. We talk about one of those genres on there is infomercial, which we say is the love child between commercial and narration, right? So we cross that bridge through the love child of infomercial over to narration. We explore all of those things in there. And we, again, I'm sorry, in weeks 2, we give you tools. We give you tools. Importantly, we give you tools to start working with, tools that will serve you in any of the genres and all of your career, and you can start making your own. So we've got the tools. So those tools will apply to the narration. And then we also explore video games and animation. And then at the end, because it's the least important, it's important, but the least important, we talk about equipment, both external recording stuff, taking care of your instruments. Our vocal sensei, Faith Rumor, joins us in week 6. And then we finish up with an actual session. Not an actual session because it's not really a job, but we run a session. In the course of doing the commercial stuff, we run through what is it like to record, edit, label, send in, deliver, not submit, because we don't submit, we deliver. And then what happens after that. So we explore the whole process of not just working on copy, but what is the process and what does it feel? How does it feel and how does it work? Yeah, and then we wrap up. And then what happens next was your question, right? So when we open your awareness, the reality is that a voiceover career is not a cup of noodles. a voiceover career is more like, if you think of it more like a gestation period for a baby, that it requires building and creating a safe space for it to grow and be connected, and then it builds, and this happens before this, and this grows bigger, and then it's birthed, and then you start going, okay, I have something in my hands, and how do you then build your business, right? We build your skills, we build your business. So if how we're working, what we're doing, what you're getting out of the 6 weeks resonates with you, the You Should Do Voiceover is actually a microcosm of a full 14-month training program that's called From Mystery to Mastery, that takes everything we do and builds on it in about the gestation period that it actually takes to go from I don't know to having everything you need to be a working pro, right? Now, I'm going to do one more metaphor, and then I want to make sure we get, and hopefully this answers your questions. And then I do want to take more of your questions. So, and then that process is divided into belt levels, and then we have our working pro division. So we can even support each other together through as you're building your voiceover career and stepping into working pro. It's something to explore here, and it can take you all the way. We can be with you, walking with you, guiding you as you do the work to do what's needed for the whole journey. And I forgot what else I was going to say. So let's take another question. Is that helpful, Patricia?
Yeah, that was helpful. Thank you. I know that there's other questions. I just want to ask a quick question. You talked about the 14-month mastery. Based on from what you're saying the 6 weeks is foundational to even considering doing voiceover. But the 14, and are you saying, let me go to the 14th month, the 14 month, you shouldn't even launch before you do the 14 months?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. And thank you. That was the thought that flew away. One of the other metaphors we talk about, there's lots of metaphors we talk about this development, but one of them is, in order to break into voiceover, you need to be able to get on the freeway going 85 miles an hour with people who've been driving the Autobahn for 25 years. Right? That's just true. Now, can you do it? Yes, people are breaking into the voiceover world every day. New voices are essential. It's important, and it happens every day. Now, can you do it on a scooter? No, you cannot do it on a scooter. You can try as much as you want, but you can't, right? So then how do you, understand, well, first of all, as we've been talking today, do you want to be on the Autobahn? You may not want to be on the Autobahn. It may not be a thing for you. You might just be perfectly, absolutely content figuring out what you need and figuring out how it works for you, and just make a lovely career on surface streets. And you'll be being trained to the highest levels, and then you make the choices of how you're going to do that and how this is going to serve your life, right? Because everybody's path is different, and everybody's choosing different paths, and everyone's doing this for different reasons, right? And and frankly, the way we work with the internal training first, sometimes people do the whole thing. They do some voiceover, but really what it opens up is they create their own series, or they start this business, or they do something that changes the world, right? Because they're aligned with the power and possibility of their voice. So all of those things are good. And the beautiful thing about, or I think it's beautiful, one of the things that I thought to create beauty as we've been developing this and creating this is, you can make a choice any time, right? The 6 weeks is laid out. This is what it is. If it fits for you, if it works for you, great. Let's do it together. And there's different ways that you different levels that you can do it, so it doesn't have to be full force. It can be however it works for you. Sometimes we were talking about love, like love VO. I find that everybody that I know that has a sustained, successful voiceover career loves VO, loves this work. It's a way of making a really fantastic living, and it also becomes a way of life. And so how do you fall in love with VO? Obviously, you're kind of like, ooh, VO, hey, kind of cute. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here today, right? And at any point, so some people do 6 weeks, like, all right, I'm in, let's do it. I'm marrying VO. This is it. Send the other. That's how I was when I did my first session. I had the helicopter came. I had an opportunity. I was like, that is what I'm doing. Everyone else going. And it's totally perfectly fine to, hang out and have coffee with VO for a while and go see some movies with VO and see how it fits, right? So Linda, you should do voiceover, and then you've had, everything. We haven't seen you in a little bit, but there's other things in life, and it's not like you forgot it. Or, and you're here, so you must be like, ooh, voiceover. There's something that has it here. So everyone's on their own journey. If that all makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. We're here to facilitate you finding your way, is how we roll. We bring our hearts and our experience and hold the space for you to find your heart and experience. So what are the questions? Thank you.
With that, Tish, should we wrap up the official, like we said we were going to do at the top of the hour?
We should.
Because we'll go back to all the questions.
Excellent. Okay, so everybody who is still here with us, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully it was illuminating. Hopefully you have new ways of thinking about things and seeing things and recognizing what you are already doing, if you're doing it. Finding an easy way to go, like, oh, well, let's try that, see what happens. If you're if the beginning of the journey. So we do this the third Wednesday, something like this, the third Wednesday of every month, get to know VO. And then the first Wednesday of every month, we do Ask the Sensei. So wherever you are, as long as you have internet, you can come join us twice a month, no matter what. So, and then we can explore what else feels right. So, yeah. So, Kat, thank you for being here. Jeffrey, thank you for making everything run smoothly like you do. And so that completes the official portion of the Get to Know VO session. But let's get some more questions. Got a couple more minutes.
Sure. Thank you so much, Patricia. The next one I have is from Joanne A. Lockman. Go ahead and bring your question into the room.
It sounds like from the law office of Joanne A. Lockman.
Hi, guys. It's a long story why I need to have the A, but thanks for sticking around. So I'm an audiobook narrator in New York City, and but I have been
to itself, not a small feat. Yes.
But now I am also a part-time caregiver for my mom, who lives in Maryland. So for periods of time, like you, Trish, you realize that you can't, when you go to give the care, sometimes it takes longer than you anticipate.
Yes.
So I've chosen not to carry my equipment because I don't want to damage it. But on occasion, if I need to record, I've been struggling to find a place in the Mid-Atlantic region. So I was wondering, is there a resource maybe on the website, or you could direct me to someone who has available studios that are available for rent or places? What I'm coming up with is just a lot of home studios, but of course those are occupied, and a lot of times people don't have the flexibility to allow someone to come in to do an 8-hour book.
Right. Well, and this is one of the things, like, this is one of the things that why each genre has its own criteria, right? Because if I pop in and I do, even the last video game session I did was scheduled for 4 hours. We finished in 2 hours. It was fun. But even that is, if you're paying somebody for studio time, even at a professional exchange rate, that's a chunk of your income from that project. And then the reality of audiobooks is it's a long form narration. So it takes a lot of time and you can't shortcut it. So that's just reality of audiobooks. It's the marathon of voiceover. So how would we approach this? Frankly, unless if well, I don't know all the details. I would probably figure out how to bring my equipment and set up even, set up your little space capsule of cushions and make sure it works with your it might be a little challenging if you've already started a book, because if you started a book one place, you kind of need to have that sound quality at
Right,
least
yeah.
throughout. So it's a little bit challenging. But getting to a place where you can be somewhat self-sufficient is good. I would probably recommend, are you part of APAC, the audiobook producers?
Yeah, yes, I am.
I would reach out and see if there's someone who could connect you with other audiobook narrators in Maryland, in the area that you're talking about, because they are going to understand what is needed. And there might be someone who they know who's not working on a book, or they're taking care of their mom somewhere else. Or you see what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
How do you get creative and think out of the box? And then understanding that different disciplines might not get what we're doing. I've had that situation, like, oh, it's a recording studio, awesome, and it's rock and roll dudes, and they're like, hey, it's all set up for music, and they're like, yeah, we can do that, but they don't know the rhythm of a session, they don't know the protocol of sending, they don't know how to interact with the clients. They're good guys, they have the equipment, and sometimes they're girls too, but so you got to kind of know, if you can find someone who understands what your product, what you're trying to create, and what your challenges are, that might be useful. I'm trying to think. Kat, do you have any? I know you don't necessarily work in audiobooks, but you do travel a lot. So how do you approach it?
Yeah, two things came to mind. One, don't be like me and write off long form narration for forever because you don't want to do all that editing. Because now I have a virtual assistant in Venezuela. I pay him double what he could make, triple what he could make in Venezuela, but it's half what I would pay here in the US, and he's perfectly bilingual. So for that long form stuff, you can also always hire someone to do the editing. As far as, can you explain the situation again, Joanne, that you're in the middle of an audiobook and you're traveling?
Oh, sure. So when I have to go back to Maryland, sometimes, right, the last time was a month, but in the wintertime, like holiday time, I'm sometimes there for 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
So I was looking for a space that I established something in the house, but just, I don't have a car. Everything is just bulky, traveling. And then at one point, I think I damaged my microphone arm in the middle of travel. So I decided that it's probably not wise for me to travel with everything. And at this point, I can't afford to have a duplicate technology in Maryland. So I was looking for a space, and I was coming up against a lot of people who have recording studios, or there's television studios, but no one has the experience with audiobook. So I was looking to see if there were any spaces that, if the need be, that I could go to and do my recording, or if I had to do pickups or anything. Yeah.
Two things come to mind. To me, it seems like for a longer stay like that, it's absolutely worth just bringing whatever you're using at home. You already have everything you need, just bring it with you. A boom arm, a mic arm is very inexpensive. So hopefully the heavy thing like that, you have one in each location, but your microphone, your laptop, whatever you use to record at home, I would just bring that with you. And especially since you're saying you don't have a car and you're going to be kind of remote, getting to a studio might be an issue, and it could be hours of work. The other thing is, I have found people via the Source Connect, the Source Elements website. You got to dig around in there, but there is a page where they have a map of everyone who has Source Connect. So that's just, they're going to have a studio. So I was in Rome, Georgia all winter, and I found 2 people within an hour drive of where I was staying that had Source Connect home studios. Reached out to them. They were Southern gentlemen. So of course they were like, anytime you want to use my space for free, you can use it anytime. I decided to stay in Rome the whole winter, and I decided it was better to just put a mattress and pillows. I made my own studio there in Georgia because I work almost every day. So it's just better to just have my own studio.
Okay, so I'll check in Source connect. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And reach
Thank
out,
you.
post on LinkedIn. I mean, it's an opportunity to brag about yourself or whatever. Post on LinkedIn that you're going to be in this area. And do any of my clients or colleagues know someone who works in voiceover that might have a studio I could use? Just get creative, reach out to your networks, and you'll probably find something.
And that's the other thing of how this works, guys. We're here to help each other. People help each other all the time. And when you're the next one who's in Rome, Georgia, or Rome, Italy, or Rome, wherever you are roaming, somebody can be there to help if you need help, and just ask questions and get specific about it. Right? Yeah. Good.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. I'm glad you're able to be there to take care of your family too, because that's
Yeah, we're all doing it. Mm-hmm.
So Linda, what's your question? Oh, I'm sorry, Jeffrey. I
Nope, that was the next one. Go for it. So Linda.
Oh, well, I'm just going to praise Tish and the whole group because I had great training. I just got set back and due to COVID and some other uncontrollable things, but I have not stopped studying, and I'm an actress also. So I have been in classes since 2019 and have done another voiceover class. So I just want to say the support's here. It's a great class and you can't beat the price. I mean, I've checked other studios and bought a lot more money, and it's just a great community. The people are there to support us. That's why I keep coming back, Tish, because I always pick something up, even if it's stuff that you've shared before that I've already known. And I got set back too because I'm not very savvy. The editing and that was the freakiest part for me. But now that I've had enough practice and I do my own recording and editing, I haven't gotten any work yet, but I'm moved and going to reset up my studio. I know out of my home studio, just out of a closet, is so great. You can just start there and work your way into bigger studios, and that you can take it anywhere you want. You can go wherever you want to do voiceover. You get to stay at home and be with your family and go places and see things and can still do your work on the road. So, I mean, when you get to that point. And so now I have the confidence in getting my studio set up in my new home. And I'm actually going to start auditioning for audiobooks and different things. I just go wherever it leads me. So who knows what doors it will open.
This is fantastic. And the thing that, thank you, Celinda, and we miss you. And we are always here. Like there's a couple things that come up for me. So what Celinda was talking about is Celinda's gestation period has been longer because, stuff happens. And what you can and you can't do on the journey, you just got to keep the flame. You just got to keep the flame alive, right? That little spark, make sure it doesn't go out. And frankly, even if it does go out, Kat, have you ever had it, it doesn't last long, but there's definitely moments like, oh
yeah.
You're like, what else could I do? And you're like, oh, that would be dumb. Okay, never mind. But everybody gets it. And so everybody has their own gestation period. And then as Sensei Ben always says, voiceover is going to be here. Like, don't worry about it. Voiceover is going to be here. And then when you get aligned and then when the thing, you do want to make sure you're not letting the things keep you. Because if you keep letting the things keep you, you never get past a certain point, and you may have to push past. You may have to push past something that's uncomfortable or scary or like if it's a financial thing, if it's a time thing, if it's a I love Celinda that you're like, I feel confident. Like, yeah, that's the internal part, right? Who cares what you can do with not who cares, because it's really important. If you can't read copy, if you can't deliver it, if it's here, then that's problematic. But if you have that confidence, that's where it goes. Like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. And then you keep on building your skills and asking questions and getting support. So it's all part of the thing. Yeah. And we're here for you however we can help and whenever it's time. So yeah, thanks. What are the questions? I'm intrigued. Francis Boyle has an otter.
We have about 5 minutes left. So we can shoot a couple of rapid fire ones.
Cool. Got it. I heard that. Thank you.
I'm also typing and trying to answer in the chat as best I can. Just to double check, the Audiobook Association you suggested, that was the name of that was
the Audio Publisher Association.
Audiopub.org.
Yeah, that is correct.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
and if you are interested in getting into audiobooks, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is that we have a wonderful audiobook sensei who works with us a couple of times a year, Ronnie Butler, who is a brilliant narrator and a brilliant director and an extraordinary teacher. So he teaches a workshop called You Should Do Audiobooks, which that's the good news. The neutral news is that it was supposed to happen this weekend. The bad news is that Ronnie is sick and doesn't anticipate. We were like, "Ooh, see if you're better, see if you're better." No, okay. So You Should Do Audiobooks. The other bad news is that You Should Do Audiobooks is sold out. The good news is that Ronnie will be rescheduling for August, and that will be filled. That class is still sold out, but if you are interested, there's still time to express that interest, and we can create another opportunity. So that's the good news, bad news, good news, bad news, good news, bad news. Yeah. So awesome. Excellent. Yeah.
Great.
What are the other rapid fire questions that Tish don't keep on talking on and on about?
And there was one from Charles, but I know that Charles indicated that he's at work. Can't ask that right now, so I will ask on Charles' behalf.
The voice of Charles, Jeffrey, as the voice of Charles. Okay.
The voiceover whisperer. Are there any genres in VO that aren't suitable to pursue with a pro home studio? So stuff that would only be done at a production studio house or in studio. Are there any genres that are strictly off limits as far as working remote?
Previously, I would say like looping and dubbing were more in studio things, but over the pandemic, everyone had to figure out how to do it. So I don't think strictly anything is anything now. Like I said, that door is never going to shut again. Just in the bigger world, like, why do we have to come to an office? Like, no, seriously, why do we have to come to an office? Why? So I don't think it's strictly. I think what is happening as things are coming back online, there's benefits to being in the same room and being able to collaborate and being able to do everything at once. But there's also costs. That's the other thing. So I don't think strictly anything. There's things that it's simpler to do when we're all together in a room where the rhythm band is and the picture is there, and we're working tightly on this schedule. I think even doing, the video game session I had, it was much better to be at the studio. I didn't have to worry about levels. Rob was there taking care of that. The person I was working with on the other end was like writing lines. You took a break, let me write some lines. So you're in the process, and the process is set. Whereas when you have a home studio, you have to worry about it. I don't know. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, I totally agree, except it's not a genre, but there are occasionally jobs, especially with like old boys club clients, that are like, no, we want you in person. An example is I had my target dream job like last year, that there is a woman, an older woman, who has been the voice of every airport and a lot of subway systems around the world for like 30 years. And I was like, I saw a documentary about her. I'm like, that's my job. That job is for me. And I can pronounce all the things from around. I've been all over the world and I speak some languages. And I was like, that's it. I just felt the tingles of like, this is my job. So I reached out to the company, and they were like, oh, we just picked someone to replace her like a week ago. We just found a local woman in like some small town I'd never heard of. Like, they picked someone who lived like 10 miles away from them. I'm sure she's amazing. And she might be on the line because I met her at VO Atlanta. And I was like, well, let me just say, wow, congrats, 6-figure job that I wanted more than any voiceover job. But, not a glamorous job at all, but like just perfect for me. So anyway, the story is there will be magic that will happen because of being in smaller markets, where she was the biggest fish around. I'm a really big fish in the Minneapolis market. The producers all know who I am. In LA, there were some important people that knew who I was, but I was a very small fish in that giant pond. So there's pros and cons to where you decide to live and work.
And small fish can buy farms in Ecuador.
Yes. She doesn't have an expensive mansion in Hollywood anymore.
Yeah. Awesome. What else can we fit in, Jeffrey?
I think that's the last of the questions in the chat. So
Okay.
that's perfect timing to end on.
Yay. So awesome, guys. If you have thank you so much for spending time with us. We, that is, as you are creating your businesses and building your skills and building relationships, your time is incredibly valuable. So thank you for sharing that value with, sharing that with us. We recognize that, and that is important, and know that is your worth, that is your worth that you bring too. If you have other questions or want to hear more about, like if you want to talk more one-on-one about like where you're at and where you'd like to be, how any of this can help you, sign up for a voiceover once over. And I think Jeffrey put that in the chat. And then, yeah, if you want to join us over the summer for You Should Do Voiceover, and grab that, make a decision and grab that $100 off. That is,
And they do tend to sell out. Yeah. So
yeah, that is very much the
they
case.
sell out.
And that's till midnight tonight, right, Jeffrey? Not to be so like, hey, till midnight tonight. Hey. But it is an incentive, and it also is kind of how we go like, hey, are you dojo material? Like, how you doing this? How you doing? And even if you go like, I don't know, you are dojo material. People who are ready to make decisions is also dojo material. So anyway, thank you all. Kat, thanks for sharing your insights. Let's finish with this.
Dojo O's.
Put two things in. So when we get together, we finish with what we call Dojo O's. So of all the things we covered today, what's one thing that made you go, oh, or oh, or oh, or oh? Distill it to its most succinct form and put it in the chat. And then also put where you dream of doing voiceover from. Right? And then put a picture of that place by your microphone. Yes. So let's we'll finish off with this. And if you need to roll, that's cool. These are good. JS says, I can hire somebody to edit audiobooks. Yes. Back in the day, we were only asked to narrate audiobooks. Now people ask you to do everything. And so outsource. Yes, because you're a narrator, not an editor. And editors are extraordinarily important parts of your team. So, but it also helps to make a business too. Right. Jeffrey, want to share yours?
Sure. Dreams are powerful. It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Dreams are what motivate us, inspire us.
Yeah. Patricia, let's hear yours real quick. Let's get our voices in there. It's super fun.
Well, I love the fact that the door of voiceovers will never shut again, that it's open and the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. And then we find a way to make it work for us. That's all we can do. Celinda.
No matter your setbacks, you can still move forward in voiceover.
You can indeed. And also, if you have too much setbacks, you can set it down and everything will be just fine. You can go on with your life. But if you want it, you can figure out. And if it takes you as long as it takes you, then that's the path. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, those are great Dojo O's. If you want to email others, that's great. Jeffrey, thank you. It's got to roll. We'll see you next Wednesday. Oh, one more secret thing. Sorry, there's another O. If you have any bone of Disney file in you, there's an opportunity coming up on the 21st. We talked about our Working Pro workout, the Go Dojo Pro Fight Club. We have Renee Johnson from Disney Character Voices joins us once a year, and that is the day. So in order to play in Fight Club, you need to have demo reps and booking, and everyone can be a spectator. So if that sparks your interest, go to the website and you can figure out how to be a spectator.
I just dropped the link in the chat.
Excellent. Thank you. And the thing about that is that Renee doesn't work with everybody. She's like, just keep it on the down low. Not that we're doing anything. She's very private. She works with very big profile, big profile. I mean, Caitlin Robrock is the voice of Minnie Mouse, and she didn't get that job from Fight Club, but she met Renee first at Fight Club. So once again, not causal. Fight Club is an educational event, not a casting in any way, but yeah, that's how you get to know the people who are doing the things. So awesome. I'll stop talking now. Thank you all. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.